Okay, let's start. It's 12 o'clock. My name is Douglas Massey. I'm the president of AFGE Local 17, which represents VA Central Office. The invitation I sent out today, it was for both members and non-members if you're in the bargaining unit. So some of you out there are not union members, but this decision does impact you with respect to telework. I'm also going to send out some poll questions, which I cannot answer and I can't participate. Let me see. Okay. So you can answer this poll at your leisure, and then I'll share the results. But you got an email earlier this week that said that the 50% attendance requirement that was announced last year is going to be implemented. And Secretary McDonough said that the department had met all their bargaining obligations with the union. That is completely false. So this was our position when we met with the department's bargaining team. Basically, when he said that the department had met their bargaining obligations, actually they did. They negotiated this telework agreement and our master agreement. And if you look at Article 20, I'm going to share my screen so you can see. It looks like we have most everybody's a dues paying member. By the way, these are all anonymous. I can't see. So this is the contract provision that Secretary McDonough signed just a year ago. And if you look in our master agreement, Article 20, Section 6C says the number of days each week, pay period, or month an employee will telework at an alternative work site will vary depending on the individual arrangement made between the employee and the supervisor. Employees may work as few as 1 day per month and as many as 5 days per week for full-time telework. So basically, Secretary McDonough coming in and saying, I'm going to put a 50% cap on telework violates this agreement that gives a range of anywhere from you can telework 1 day a month to full-time telework. And I don't know how they can actually say with a straight face that they had met all their bargaining obligations. We do get that quite frequently when management actually will do something and they will blame the union. They're famous for that at the Board of Veterans Appeals. There was a group at VBA where we were trying to get more telework. This was a while ago. And they kept saying no. And the senior executive met with the employees. The union was not invited. And the senior executive actually said, we want to give more telework, but it's being held up by the union. And that person recorded that conversation and sent that to me. And then when I confronted him, he denied it, and I played the recording. But this is Secretary McDonough sending out a mass email. And as his boss would say, he's completely full of malarkey. We did meet with this bargaining team. We explained to them that they can't do this. It's a simple contract violation. They put forth their arguments. I think they kind of agreed with us. We got somebody from the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, FMCS, who mediates when there's an impasse. And an impasse is when there's something negotiable and the parties disagree. Well, this is something that's not what this situation was. This situation was, this is an issue that is beyond the scope of bargaining because it's included in our master agreement. We already negotiated this. They can't come in and change it. Secretary McDonough signed it. You can't all of a sudden, you don't like it, you get buyer's remorse. You can't change it. So the union's response is we will file a grievance, we will take it to arbitration, and we will have an arbitrator decide whether who's right and who's wrong. I think we have a very strong case. You never know what an arbitrator is going to do. So we can't make any promises. So if, let me take a look at something. I have a few more poll questions I'd like to ask. Okay. Basically, the question, if you're calling in, you don't see the screen, is the following best describes my feelings about the 50% in-office policy. I will enjoy going to the office more often. I don't care either way. This will be a slight inconvenience. I'm upset and I'm mad as hell. My phone. I just want to record these results. Okay, let me share the screen. Again, these are all anonymous. I don't know who votes, and I can't vote. So 48% said I'm mad as hell. 33% said you're upset. This will be a slight inconvenience, 17%. Somebody said they will enjoy going to the office more often. There are people like that. So basically, this is considered a bypass. It's a legal term. They're bypassing the union, implementing this policy. Because they've bypassed it, we don't know how it's going to proceed. I think there's a lot of downstream issues, such as office space. If you left 4 years ago and you've been working at home most of the time, and you come back and you have the same workstation, that's not an issue. If they're going to give you a different workstation, and some people may be on different floors, different buildings, that's another issue that they have to negotiate with the union. Also, this was conveniently issued right after the all-employee survey. I thought it was a little sneaky. But if you want to share your feelings with Secretary McDonough, feel free to send him an email. I know you're putting yourself out there. I don't know if he's going to. Here's a question. How effective do you think Secretary McDonough communicates with transparency and openness? So let me share the results. It looks like nobody said highly effective, 10% somewhat effective, 23% I don't know, 27% somewhat ineffective, 40% highly ineffective. I mean, these results may be shared with him. Again, these are all anonymous. So basically, that's where we stand. We just wanted to be very clear with you that the union did not sign off on this, that this was rolling over, violating the master agreement. And I know Secretary McDonough has made statements that he's pro-union. He says a strong unionized workforce is better for the department. He has never treated AFGE with much respect, including the president of the National VA Council, Alma Lee, our national president, Dr. Everett Kelly. This contract, the first 2 years Secretary McDonough was with us, their bargaining team was putting forth proposals under the last administration that were designed to bust our union, the design where we couldn't actually do this work, that I couldn't do this work, the other stewards. And that went on for 2 years. We were wondering why, because they conflicted with President Biden's own executive order. And what happened was he decided to roll over 90% of our agreement, which is what we wanted. But that was only because there was some bad press where an arbitrator found that the VA was negotiating in bad faith, which they were. Their chief negotiator was promoted, but they were very hostile to our bargaining team, very disrespectful. And so, I personally wish we had somebody who was more of an executive leader than a political operative, but that's who we have at the moment. So in any event, we will keep everybody posted. As soon as I file and draft the grievance, we will share that with everybody. And please feel free to check out our website. It's any email you get that's hyperlinked to my signature block below. And I know I'm going to have a million questions after this that are going to be coming in on my email, and that's fine. I encourage that. What we're going to do is there are going to be a lot of repeat overlapping questions. I'm going to get a question and answer. We'll post everything on our website, some of the most common questions. And hopefully your supervisor will work with you and be compassionate, because I know many people have childcare issues. You have long commutes. Many people have moved. You have a pet. You have to get a dog walker. So anyways, we do have some hands up. Derek, did you want to say something? Derek, I think you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question, because what's been giving out here at VACO is a lot of the offices up here are scheduling meetings, like group meetings for each department, each individual department, explaining what will happen either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday that returning back to work. That's what all of the emails are stating.
Yeah, here's the thing.
And those meetings will be held in individual departments.
Yeah, they're basically bypassing the whole union. They don't want to meet with us. They don't want to negotiate with us, and that's actually considered unfair labor practice, having a formal discussion with employees about conditions of employment without inviting the union. So that will be addressed. And by the way, we've had litigation where, for example, when they passed the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, and they fired a lot of people, and after a lot of litigation, the VA had to bring back a lot of people and issue back pay. But the implementation of that award, that judgment, that required further litigation because they didn't want to do it properly. And we just won an arbitration at the Board of Veterans Appeals about how they changed the performance standard, and they denied a lot of promotions and unlawfully put people on PIPs. There's probably going to be litigation about enforcing that because they just don't want to follow the procedures. If you lose at arbitration, you appeal it if you don't like the decision. If you sign a collective bargaining agreement and you don't like the provision, well, you have to live with it. And, we have eye care. We have a lot of senior executives walking around with their eye care pin. And to me, integrity means doing what you say you're going to do and living up to agreements. And that is what they're doing is completely inconsistent with that. JR, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, there's a handful of questions in the chat I thought we could bring to light. While in arbitration, does that mean this will be on pause again?
Unfortunately, no. What we do is we comply now, grieve later. That's the doctrine. So you will have to comply. And by the way, if we do prevail at arbitration, if they appeal it to the Federal Labor Relations Authority, we cannot implement the award. So they could delay it even further. They may or may not. And frankly, this could take at least 6 months. Usually it takes a year. This arbitration, we may not need to have a hearing. We may just do this on submitting our briefs, because it's pretty a simple contract interpretation case. So yeah, you'll have to comply.
That should answer everyone else's questions in the chat too.
Okay.
John, Bobby, Bookin, if that doesn't answer your question, speak up.
Answers my question. So
yeah, you don't want to tell your supervisor no. Usually doesn't go over so well. But you're more than welcome to express your opinion.
Should we be having a union rep in during the supervisor discussions? Is that Is that it?
Well, if they're going to formulate the telework agreement coming in 5 days a week, they're going to be talking with you about other parts of the agreement, like ad hoc, things like that. The number of days you can telework. There may be things that it would be considered a formal discussion. So the contract does say, let me get this out again. The number of days each week, pay period, or month an employee will work at an alternative work site will vary depending on the individual arrangement between the employee and the supervisor. So it doesn't say with the union rep present. And frankly, we just don't have the resources to be at every one of these meetings. But broader policy that's in the telework agreement, like if they slip in something that, when you're on Teams, you have to be green, you have to sign in, sign out on telework days, things like that. That requires union involvement. But again, they're bypassing the union. They're implementing this without us. So, it's a continuing violation. Oh, one question. Will we be sending anything via email that we can share with our supervisor? I have been approached by my supervisor saying that we're going 50% starting. Well, you can let your supervisor know that about our response. And as soon as we draft this grievance and file it, we're going to share this with everybody. And it'll be on our website. It's my understanding, too, that a lot of people, not just the bargaining unit employees, read our website. My understanding, some senior leaders read our website because some of it pertains to them. So feel free to express anything you've learned at this meeting today. I have talked to senior executives that they're not crazy about this. I can't disclose who they are, but they've made it clear that they're not very excited about this. And a lot of this is not what they're doing, it's the way they're going about it. And when I got that message back in May 2023, I was over talking with Undersecretary for Benefits, Josh Jacobs, because I heard a rumor that they were going to start there and move to different groups. And while I was meeting with him, he said, no, didn't you get the email? The email was sent during that meeting or right before. I hadn't seen it. And nobody came to Local 17 and said, oh, by the way, this email's going out. This email that went out Monday, I got a heads up like an hour before. The chief negotiator for management called me up on team to let me know. And so if they had involved us earlier and explained the situation, I know there's a lot of political pressure on them. But, once you explain your situation, if you feel like your hands are tied or you're getting a directive from higher up, I mean, that goes a long way into understanding their situation. But to ignore people, and by the way, this administration, Secretary McDonough, when he talks about, I didn't know that the sexual harassment ORMDI, I didn't know about the bonus thing. Well, he doesn't know a lot of things. And I've sent him correspondence about problems at the Board of Veterans Appeals. There's been a congressional hearing about it. There's going to be all kinds of back pay being issued over the next 6 months over there. I get nothing from him. And and the Board of Veterans Appeals was ranked 444 out of 459 subcomponents. We're just above the Bureau of Prisons, where people are breaking up fights between the Aryan Brotherhood and other groups. It's that bad. And a normal executive would be like, this division, they need new leadership. We need to change leadership. Obviously, they're failing. I mean, we all know that a federal employee, if you are unacceptable in a critical element and you can't improve to an acceptable level during your opportunity period, during a PIP, you're fired. Well, there's people at VA Central Office that need to be fired, need to be replaced. And, we talked to some senior people about that at Human Capital, and they did meet with us, but they're talking about coaching and things like that. But a score of 444 requires more than coaching. And it's just the same thing with this telework, not communicating and issuing orders and not thinking about the people who are doing the work. which is, during the pandemic, we're all at home and everybody was getting praised. And I think people could have been brought back more frequently. They could have done it very differently, and they decided not to do it. And my understanding is people are very surprised at the email. I was somewhat surprised. I knew, I was warned an hour before, but this is not the way to communicate with people. So are there any other questions? Okay, just to let everybody know, the grievance will be filed next week. I will share that with everybody. And the folks that said they're not dues-paying union members, if you would like to be, please send me an email. You can also send JR an email, John Ryans Cummings, Cummings. You've got my email address. There's no numbers. I'm the only Douglas.Massey, or there's numbers after that. But and we will keep everybody informed as we learn what's going on. And I'm so sorry that this happened this way. I wish it didn't. And, I wish they weren't so sneaky about it. They should have done this before the all-employee survey. But by the way, we went down 1 overall as best places to work. And actually, the Board of Veterans Appeals with only 1,400 employees, that's what put us down by 1 ranking. That's how bad it was. So, I'm sure a lot of these people are going to be gone, and they're going to move on to bigger and better things out there. So thanks, everybody. If you have any questions, please email, and I will get back to everybody as soon as possible. Thanks.